I'm David Burton. I'm a director of Williams Burton Leopardi. We're an architecture and interior design studio here in Adelaide. So the Darling building was built in 1916. It was designed by E.H. McMichael, who is a prominent architect in Adelaide and has designed a lot of commercial buildings of this era. Depending on who your source is, allegedly this is one of his favourites, and it was done in a style which has been referenced as a commercial palazzo style, so it's going to be influencing some classical influences as well. The state heritage listing entails the perimeter and the form of the building. So the light well is part of the state heritage listing in principle, but not specifically in detail. The only interior elements that are really, strictly speaking, off limits, if you like, are the foyer and the front two rooms on the ground floor. The form and the nature of the lift well and the stairwell is of high importance, and the form and the nature of the external parts of the building of high importance. When you walked into the building, it was completely rancid and derelict, but it had really great bones. It presented beautifully. It was kind of this. There was a bit of emotional sort of pull. It was this thing that had been derelict since 1997. The only way to economically look at this was to treat it as an existing use, to technically move in and upgrade rather than treat it as a development. And this process enabled us to look at it from a slightly different point of view, and then also to sort of take that whole idea of, well, when we do something, rather than try and make it look like a finished solution, let's look at the idea of inserting things into a shell. One of the principles that we used with the building was that something can be more beautiful for having been broken and repaired. Look, if we're going to do something, then you're going to see it. So surfaces are all exposed. Where we've cut a floor, for example, to move a wall, we've patched it along the alignment of the wall. We've left the old floors in place where if you were trying to create what was next door, you'd be putting a whole new floor through. You'd be putting a suspended ceiling through, you'd be putting all different things like that through. But that was not the character of the building, and it would have destroyed the character of the building. So all of those ideas have sort of been mashed into this one, not mashed, they've been very carefully curated into this, into what this building is now. In terms of the conservation works, on the areas that had high heritage values, such as the front room downstairs and the panelling in the entry hall, that's pretty much been cleaned, assessed, some areas re-French polished, but it hasn't been stripped or re-lacquered or anything along those lines. Where we had areas of obvious wear, we sort of made an assessment about whether we wanted to keep that. So the stair balustrades, for example, have got wear marks where people have walked up and down them, and we decided that was actually an intrinsic part of the building. So rather than try and bring it back to new, we kept it. So essentially what you see here is what it was, probably just a slightly different colour. The conservation works were really just based on stabilisation and then making obvious where we've made changes. The funding we got was partly for roof works and repairing of the roof. It's a lovely place to work because we've got natural light on three sides. We have materials and finishes which provide great contrasts, and so from the new and the old, and it's just a really nice place to be. We deliberately designed this fit out with a kitchen in the middle. In this circumstance, it becomes the gathering point. It's where people exchange ideas. We were traditionally always a very quiet office in our previous iterations, and for a firm that sort of talks about and prides itself on collaboration, this building makes us do that, which is really good.